Cerberus Virtual Racing is now sponsored by Track Titan. Track Titan is powerful race telemetry software that tracks your drive so you can see where you can improve. Track Titan runs in the background, so you don't have to worry about activations or annoying overlays. Just go out and drive. Track Titan records your drive and inputs for easy interactive examination afterwards. With over 4,000 reference laps and millions of laps recorded, you can spot where you can improve and how others are achieving their laps. You could also find your racing rival on Track Titan and see exactly what they're doing. Get a 30-day free trial now when you sign up for Track Titan using promo code CVRTT. Once again, a 30-day free trial of Track Titan when you use promo code CVRTT. See you on track! Hello and welcome to the CVR Post-Race Show, a podcast to keep you up on the latest of Cerberus Virtual Racing's Series 3 Championship. My name is Peter Wicinski, and I am joined today by my charming co-host, Niklas Pelzl.
Hi. So, Cerberus Virtual Racing Series 3 is an 8-round championship raced on Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim and hosted by Cerberus Virtual Racing on SimGrid. Today we are talking about round 5 at Spa.
The Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, often referred to simply as Spa, has a rich and storied history. It was established in the early 1920s and quickly gained prominence as one of the most challenging and scenic tracks in the world. Originally, the circuit spanned public roads connecting the towns of Francorchamps, Malmedy, and Stavelot in Belgium's Ardennes region. Is that right? Ardennes?
Yeah, it's the Ardennes.
Over the years, Spa underwent various modifications to enhance safety and accommodate modern racing standards. It has been a fixture in Formula One since the championship's inception, except for a brief hiatus in the mid-20th century. Spa has borne witness to numerous historic moments, including legendary battles between racing greats and unforgettable displays of skill and bravery. The track's iconic features like the daunting Eau Rouge complex and the Long Kemmel Straight have become synonymous with high-speed racing and moments of sheer brilliance. Spa remains a beloved and challenging venue, a true test of a driver's skill, courage, and mechanical prowess. Its rich history and breathtaking layout continue to captivate motorsport enthusiasts worldwide.
Yeah. Spa is really located in the picturesque Ardennes region of Belgium. It is a legendary track that commands immense respect in the world of motorsport. Stretching over approximately 7 kilometers or 4.3 miles, it stands as one of the longest and most challenging circuits on the Formula One calendar. Its layout is a roller coaster ride of elevation changes with famous sections like Eau Rouge, like you mentioned, and Blanchiment, pushing drivers and machines to the limits. Spa-Francorchamps seamlessly marries high-speed straight with technical corners, creating exhilarating experience that demands precision, skill, and a profound understanding of what a racing line. It's a track that has witnessed historic battles and unforgettable moments, earning its place as a beloved icon in the hearts of motorsports enthusiasts worldwide. Spa is a historic and challenging track, renowned for its beautiful yet treacherous layout, making it a beloved fixture in the motorsport.
So, Series 3 is a one-drop series where the lowest scoring race of the season will be dropped from each driver's leaderboard totals. We now return from the mid-series break and have 4 races left to go. Peter Wicinski, myself, leads the pro category with 133 points. Within 5 points of first place are both Gavin Sullivan and Paul Simon in second and third. Eric Roguski heads the Pro-Am pack with 161 points. Mark Kutz and Connor Jalowiecki are second and third at 139 and 136 points. Finally, Simon Tonkin leads the amateurs with 154 points, while Stacey Ellis is at 144 and Chris Montgomery has 100.
What a qualifying end race start order. We have the pole position. It would go to Todd Brown in the Porsche 992. Second and third position were taken by Sandro Van Zandt and Yusuf Bin Suhail in the McLaren 720S. In the Pro-Am category, P4 Archie Mowat leads, P5 Hans Gingel, both in the McLarens, and then Eric Roguski in the Merc. Starting P13, Stacey Ellis would lead in the AM category in the Merc, followed by P16 Simon Tonking, also in the Mercedes, and P17 is Chris Montgomery in the McLaren.
So qualifying was difficult, the race was difficult, and round 5 was actually our first night race of the series, and that brought so many challenges with it. So for the big thing that I think we have to talk about is track temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Track temperature was frigid. It was 11 degrees track temperature when you're so used to having a track that's more around like 20, somewhere in that range. But for 11 degrees Celsius, that is a cold track.
Yeah, it's a completely different challenge there.
I found it so difficult to get grip, and the track barely rubbered in over the course of qualifying. I don't even think at the end of the race, I don't think it ever made it to like optimum track conditions. I think it might have gotten to fast at best. I genuinely don't think we ever hit optimum track conditions for this race.
Yeah, I couldn't recall. Like after my heartbreak moment, I wasn't there to witness the rest of the track conditions. But yeah, what kept in mind was like starting the race and up until my pit stop, it was like even more sketchy. Like I'm used to drive a sketchy car, but
Right.
it was even more sketchy and more challenging. And yeah, therefore we had still some well-behaved race. We had some minor incidents here and there, yeah, but regarding the difficulties that we were facing, night race, cold, green to fast track, really not that bad.
I absolutely forgot until you mentioned it right now that you had that incident during the race, and honestly, my heart breaks for you, man. So, for those who are not aware, at some point during the race, Niklas had a computer failure? What happened?
I use Armamentario, which is basically an HUD overlay. From the beginning of the race onwards, I had no overlays from that app, so I was kind of hindered like all the way because I couldn't see my settings that I normally see on a very highlighted perspective, like where do I have damage, which is the one I use, how's my TC, my ABS, all that was gone. Like I could just change it on the fly to see, okay, now I'm in TC1, now I'm TC3 and stuff like that. But on the pit stops, I decided to close the app and open it up again. but by closing the app, it automatically closed my game as well. So
Oh
I was out of the
no!
race.
Oh!
Yeah, that was a hard moment for me, since pace wise I managed, due to many minutes of practice with Todd, who, like, thank you in that position as well. Todd, who's our alien in the Porsche, really was helping me out so much to improve my lap times from like high 20s, even 21s, to consistent 2018, 2019 lap times in optimum conditions.
You were hitting 2018s.
Yeah, 218s, pretty consistent on like a quali fuel, on optimum conditions, as that is. But seeing what we have in qualifying and this race, it was something different. So I was quite a bit off the pace there, but still, regarding that, all the field was having the same issues. We were still in the contention, and I was catching the guys in front. Just sad that it had to end that way. I would love to increase my standing order, but not that time. I have to fight for it even harder.
I also use Armamentario, and I have looked through the settings where it's like, oh, do you want this to start and end the game when you start up this app? That way, things like that, or Crew Chief, if I just open it, it'll just start up the sim.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had them turned off, genuinely, because I'm worried about a situation like the one that you just had, and that is so rough.
Probably the safest way to keep it away, my
yeah. My heart breaks for you, but it wasn't just a difficult race for you. It was a difficult race for so many people. I don't know if you saw, but we started with 20 drivers. Did you see how many we finished with?
Wasn't it like 11 or 13?
12. It was only 12. Yeah. That's worse than Snetterton. Even Snetterton, yeah, we had I think we had 6 drivers drop out. But I mean, so many things went wrong in the dark, in the cold, on this. We started this race on a green track. Quali was on a green track. The race happened on a green track. And that just going up Eau Rouge on a green track in the dark the first few times, scary. Was not entirely sure if I was going to manage to hold it together, but I actually think this is one of the first races, like a long race on Spa, where I did not spin once going up Eau Rouge, so I feel really accomplished about that, at least.
Yeah, Eau Rouge performance was quite good for most of the races, I'd say, even though the challenging conditions. I wasn't even sure after like lap 1 whether my tires would hold in lap 2.
Right.
I was like, just go for it, full throttle, and just pray for it. Luckily, it worked out, which is not a certain thing, but yeah, really was a adrenaline moment there.
Yeah, I actually do find typically going up Eau Rouge flat out will keep me more stable than trying to back off the throttle. So I think it's actually something that keeps the balance of your car. So the best thing you can do, I feel like, is to try and go flat out, or like just minor lift. But if you come off that throttle too much, that would also send you into a spin there. But Eau Rouge, typically people look at Eau Rouge and go, oh, that's the danger point. But we had a lot more issues at the end of the Camel.
Yeah.
Started up on lap 1 with that large accident which took out Yusuf and Sandro right in lap 1. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, that was another of those moments that you don't want to see, because obviously it is a tough contention in the pros pace wise. Seeing Todd is up there with the Porsche, who isn't like Spa isn't the strongest track for Porsche, but it is one of the fastest for the McLarens. So both of them really could have a saying in challenging Todd there. Again, Archie also had a great showing in pace and quali, so he would be possibly closer to the pros there as well. Yeah, but in the end, it is just a sad story that those were out that early in the race, because they could have made Todd a very hard competition.
Yeah, this was one of the first races where we had, I mean, you know, I'm in the pro class, Gavin is in the pro class, Paul is in the pro class. We're pretty decent drivers, but you know, the difference between pro and the aliens like Todd and Matt and Yusuf and Sandro, that is in itself its own subcategory of the pros. And I was so excited to see a race where we had three aliens in the race, because I wanted to see, like, hey, what's going to happen with these guys? And to see two of them get knocked out so early really was sad. I mean, granted, it boosted my position in the category, sure, but you know, I really just, I like seeing someone bring some challenge to the aliens.
Great sportsmanship there.
Well, I hate to, because I kind of feel like I know what your answer's gonna be on this, but what was your most memorable moment of the race? And I'm hoping it's not Armamentario shutting you down.
I mean, of course, that burned itself into my head there, definitely. But I rather have a positive there in mind, and that is the close battles that were taking place. And I had a very fierce, but in the end, good battle with Conor Jalowiecki, who qualified somewhere around me, but did end up going through the incident of Sandro and Yusuf quite a bit better than me, so he ended up in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I was so desperately trying to get past him. He just blocked in all the good places, so I really had a fierce fight there to get along. Unfortunately, it ended with a touch in a situation where you don't want to touch yourself. Like he just bounced off me, going in a very fast left-hander. That was unfortunate. But up until then, I had like 1.5 laps of very, very fierce racing, so close together. We were kind of next to each other for like a couple corners. Great battle there.
So, for me, I'm not going to say this was the most memorable. I think maybe I put it kind of like, I guess, as an honorable mention for a memorable moment. Mm-hmm. But there was, at some point, I think it must have been lap 3 or 4. It was early in the race. And I'm following Connor, and we had a new driver with us in a BMW. and we were coming to La Source. La Source is turn 1, right?
Not certain, but I know what you mean. Like turn 1, like the shop happened.
Yeah, I would swear that turn 1 is called La Source, but
Yeah,
anyway.
it could be. But I'm just not very refined there.
So we're coming into turn 1, and I am behind Connor, and behind me is the BMW, and I can see what this BMW, like, I could see that this driver was going to go for a dive bomb 10 seconds before we hit the corner. No, maybe that's an exaggeration. Time really does seem to slow down in those high intensity moments, doesn't it? But yeah. I would say there was enough time before me realizing this BMW is going to dive bomb the hell out of this corner. And so I avoided going into the apex of turn 1, and the BMW shot past me and did not manage to brake enough, and he rear ends Connor, spins Connor out in turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Doug, will you chill out? But so he spins Connor out in turn 1, drives through him, just keeps going. And, you know, in my attempt to avoid an accident entirely, now I am stuck with Connor in front of me on the apex of the turn. And I'm like inching forward. Well, not really inching forward. I'm trying to move forward so that I can go around Connor and continue my race. But every time I inch forward to try and go around him, he starts backing up. And then I'll inch forward and he starts backing up. And I was losing my mind because I'm just like, stay in one spot. You've been in an accident. All you have to do now is just stay on the brakes, and when everyone else drives past you and it's safe to do so, you can re-enter the race. But I got overtaken by like 4 or 5 cars, and I was so upset during this whole ordeal. And I know that I've rambled on a lot about that, but I don't want to make that my most memorable moment. So what I will say is I had a second fun moment that involved an accident with Martin's story. So Martin, who, you know, he's not in the pro category with me, but that doesn't mean that I don't have fun driving against drivers in lower categories. So we are on the last like 3 laps of the race, and I'm looking at my fuel, and my fuel margin is razor thin. It's saying that I'm going to finish the race at the hour with an additional 3 liters of fuel, which means at the hour finish, I have 3 liters left. If Todd, who was leading the race, if Todd is behind me when when that timer is up and I'm over that starting line, I have to go another entire lap on 3 liters of fuel. And the track is eating fuel at about 3.6 liters.
Yeah.
So I cut power. The next person in my category that was gonna be behind me was, I think it was Gavin. And I think Gavin was maybe like a few laps below me because of an incident that happened earlier in the race. So I wasn't super concerned about losing positions to Pro-Am drivers, right? So I cut fuel completely. I'm actually chatting with Martin in the voice chat, and he's like, oh, well, you can pass me. And I'm like, I'm not really worried about position. We're in our categories. So making a big deal about letting you pass me is not going to affect my standing. So Martin passes me, and a lap and a half later, here comes Todd lapping the pack, and I let Todd get in front of me. So now I'm looking at my fuel. I have 4 liters of fuel left. We're going into the last lap. Todd's in front of me. Beautiful. I kick the fuel all the way back to power, and now it doesn't really matter, right? Like, the timer's going to be done. I'm still going to have fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're driving. Todd laps Martin, and now it's just me and Martin. And Martin and I are just kind of talking about, like, he's thinking of giving me the position back, and I'm like, nah, man, let's fight it out. Let's just go for it. And he keeps me behind him for the entire lap. And as we're coming up to Blanchimont, where he's talking about, like, oh, you think you got the brakes to make this maneuver? So we blast through Blanchimont, we go into the final chicane, and I try to dive bomb the inside, but Martin hit the apex before I made it to the apex, and so I ended up rear-ending him and spinning him out, and we're just trying to catch our bearings. I could have just gotten back on the power, taken the position. The finish line was right there, but it was just a bit of fun between me and Martin to have a battle before race end. And so I sat there for maybe like 4 seconds just telling him, like, hey, get back on. You deserve the position. I'm not taking a position from you by hitting you the turn before race end. So I wish I didn't hit him. Obviously, I wish that I had kept that clean, but it was a good bit of sport between us, and that's why I think that's my most memorable moment of the race.
A great ending to the story, with many ups and downs in between.
Yeah. At the end of the race, in the pro category, Todd Brown would take his second win of the series, followed by ERJ Leifer and Peter Wicinski. Our top 3 in the Pro-Am category were Eric Roguski, Hans Gingel, and Martin Story. Simon Tonkin takes first place in the amateur category, followed by Chris Montgomery and Stacy Ellis.
For the fastest lap bonus points, we have the fastest lap, as in their category. A bonus point was awarded to the following drivers. In the amateur category, the fastest lap goes to Simon Tonkin, who's setting a 2-minute 21.8. In the Pro-Am category, we have Eric Roguski, who gets the extra point with a 2-minute 19.242. If I remember correct, Hans was very close to that as well.
Yes, Hans and Eric battled it out pretty much the entirety of this race.
Yeah. In the Pro category, Todd Brown attains the fastest lap with a stunning 2-minute 16.997. In those conditions, that is amazing. Congrats to that one.
Wow.
For the point standing, we have you, Peter, who's holding top of the leaderboard in the Pro category with 174 points. Gavin Sullivan is currently second with 169 points, and Todd is third with 162 points, so probably catching.
I have a feeling that Todd Brown is going to take it. But we can discuss that more in a moment.
Yeah. In the Pro-Am division, we have Eric, who just continues his lead with 217 points, which is now to a point where it's like really heavy and really hard to kind of try to get points from him. Mark Hertz stays in second with 176 points. So my screen went dark. Sorry for the interruption.
It's all right.
So Mark Hertz stays in second with 176 points, and Kirk Nicholson follows in third with 162 points. And he himself has a 1 single point lead ahead of me.
Yeah.
In the amateur category, we have Simon Tonking, who creates a comfortable lead with 210 points. Second place is now held by Chris Montgomery with 149, and Stacey Ellis closes with 145 points, only 4 points away from them. If you would like further details about championship standings, please follow the link to our SimGrid page.
Before we finish, let us move on to a segment we like to call the Best Drive Awards. This award is not necessarily given to the driver who takes first overall in the race, but is given to a driver who we feel had a standout performance that deserves recognition. My best drive for Spa is Eric Roguski. It's a difficult track. It was difficult conditions, and he had a great race. If you watch the race, for him and Hans, he and Hans battled it out for an hour, and at race end, there were less than 4 seconds between the two. And I think a lot of people, when I say this, it seems kind of like a joke because Eric is the one who pushed me into the pro category. But I think Eric is driving above his category. I think he belongs in the pros with Gavin, myself, and Paul. Is he alien level like Todd and Sandro? No, but neither are myself, Gavin, Paul, and he's beating us. As you said during the standings, Todd Brown might be catching up. I have 2 forecasts for the end of the season. Forecast number 1 is Todd Brown makes each race for the next 3 races that we have, and Todd Brown continues to get first and get the fastest lap point, and he wins the championship. The other forecast that I'm making. Wow, how did I say the word like 20 seconds ago and I have a brain fart on what the word is? I don't understand what just happened. What is it when you're making a guess as to what's going to happen in the future? What was the word that I used?
A forecast.
Well, a forecast, I feel like that's weather. Either way. So, either Todd continues to win and he comes in and he's going to take the lead of the pro category at race end, or people finally recognize that Eric is a pro driver, puts Eric in the pro category, and he takes the whole championship. Because I think he's finished so far ahead of so many people in the group that if he got the pro points for the previous races that he was in, I genuinely think that Eric would be at the top of the pro leaderboard if we switched all of his races to, if he was a pro. I think Eric would be at the top. I think he'd be beating me right now. And I think
Yep.
he'd be beating me comfortably.
Yep, I would agree that he most likely will end up in front of you if we calculate the numbers now. But yeah, at the moment it's not on us to decide. He's definitely the strongest pro-am there is at the moment for us. Hence his comfortable lead in the pro-am category, which is plenty. For me, the best driver award this time is really hard to give to someone because everyone out of the top 4-5 would probably earn it in a different way. Like Todd's pace, for example, could earn it because he was just on the point, ready to go, untouchable, as you said. Doing his thing, his pace was great. There was no doubt about it after the first laps that he is going to take that. And then Leifer definitely had the pace. He put some great moves out. He was coming from like close to that last finishing P2. I mean, he plowed through the field. Great performance. What's hindering me to give him the best driver award is that along the way he made too many contacts with other drivers involved.
Right.
Like, he was faster. He pulled out some great moves, but in the end, touching like 4 people on a way.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I was considering the who I would give my award for, he was definitely on my radar. The issue I have with his drive is he did get some penalties. He was the cause of and I'm not holding it necessarily against him like, the accident you caused affected me, but his incident with Connor affected multiple people's drives. So it was a standout performance, but it was not like a clean performance. It just kind of, he felt kind of like he bullied his way up to the front of the grid, and I'm not saying it's not impressive, but it's also the reason that I couldn't give him the best drive award.
Agreed. And then, I mean, Eric, you gotta give him props for what he's doing week in, week out. He's just so consistent, hitting good strategies more often than not. Having great consistent race pace. Quali pace isn't up there on alien level, but his consistency definitely is compared to his pace. It's just amazing. But for me, the standout performance has to be Hans. Like Hans Gingel this time, his pace was there a little bit longer than that race. But on that race, he especially delivered a great performance, battling Eric nearly all of the race. So close together. Great sport between those two. And he managed to pull it off without great failures or mistakes or anything done by him. So seeing him stepping up his pace, stepping up his game is great for me. I really love to see him there. And that's why he gets the best driver award from me.
Love it. All right, well, join us again when we come back to talk round 6 taking place at Silverstone. Until then, leave a comment on your most memorable Spa or Silverstone moments. We'd love to read and include some of your favorite moments in our episodes moving forward. Please like, follow, and subscribe to stay in the know about Cerberus Virtual Racing Series 3 and other events hosted by Cerberus Virtual Racing. The CVR post-race show is now on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so please leave a review. If you'd like to join us, please see the link to the Cerberus Virtual Racing Discord channel. There are drivers of all skill levels from across 3 continents to drive with and learn from. And if you really like what we're doing, please consider becoming a Patreon for access to exclusive servers, car setups, coaching, and custom liveries. We've got some great benefits for Patreon members, and it also helps us continue to put together the events and subsequent content for you guys, so it is greatly appreciated. That said, we would like to take a quick moment to shout out our Patreons and the people who make this all possible. Ash Leach, Niklas Pelzl, Jessica Pelzl, Peter Wicinski, Hans Gingel, Gavin Sullivan, Paul Simon, Stephen Jordan, Mark Taylor, Eric Roguski, Martin Story, Matt Lee, Michael Woollacott, Christine Nicholson, Kirk Nicholson, Chris Montgomery, Thomas Gerlach, Simon Tonkin, Stacy Ellis, and Tony Herzig. Thank you guys for your hard work and support. We are happy to have you as part of the Cerberus Virtual Racing family. Until next time, may your tires always find grip. Bye!
Bye!